It snowed yesterday, so it must be towards the end of the year, but what board games did we play in November?
Hi, I'm Libby, this is Julian, and together we are BoxedMeeples. And yes, another month is over, so we are running through November's new and notable games. I've got my list here. I'm hosting again, having released it to you.
Yeah, last month I read what games we played because you went to Essen and you played a lot more games than I did, but we're back to normal amount of game playing between us.
Hopefully.
This time.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
I've got the list in alphabetical order this month. So we'll start from the A's at the top.
Let's start.
And we played a very beautiful game, Arborea, which is one that I did look at Essen actually, but finally managed to play a friend's copy.
Yeah, I think Arborea has been on my radar for about a year now, maybe more. I remember being excited to see it at, for you to see it at Essen previously, and then we saw a bit of it at the UK Games Expo, but finally got a chance to play it.
Yeah, really gorgeous game, very colourful. I really enjoyed it. Very interesting as to sort of what choices you make. There's certain areas that are going to get you different things, and you kind of have to get on the track and sort of wade it out a little bit like Zolkin.
Yes.
Hoping to get to the end of the track or as far up as you can to get the resource or the item that you're waiting for, and trying to manage getting all your different people on at the right time, refreshing so you have people to place and things. There's a lot going on in terms of maximizing that. Placing when you're getting a bonus was really interesting.
Meanwhile, you're making your garden, and then you're putting those fantastical beasts around it. And, it was a beautiful game. I mean, it had every colour on the board. Had the blues and the greens and the reds.
I mean, not that much black.
very, but that was a blessing in the curse. It looked fantastic, but it kind of, a lot of iconography I found quite tricky to read. But it was because it's a longish board, so at the bottom of the table, seeing those icons right at the top was a little bit tricky. But once you are familiar with what they all are, then not so troublesome. And obviously, if we were to play it again, maybe at 2 or something, we might put the board sort of sideways between us instead of long ways up the top. It's it's one of those things that's similar to Patoku, where you really got to focus just centre of the board, and then the rest of it is based on the decisions you make in the middle, kind of feeds you around. Similar thing here, the tracks spear off and then go off to away to the board edges. It looks more overwhelming, I think, than it actually was. But I think next game felt a bit like a learning game. I made many mistakes, but I think next time it was going to be.
Yeah, once you have your head round, right, I go to this area because I want this thing, and then I need to go to this area for that thing. It helps you sort of maximise trying to keep the engine running. Yeah. But I do really enjoy it. I would like to play it again if possible. Another one which I also played at Essen, so it's a theme here at the minute, is Bonsai. So you hadn't played it.
I haven't played it, no.
I did get to play it.
Some friends came over and we played it together after playing another game, and it was a quick kind of almost a palate cleanser after a heavier game to play something that's lighter and very quick to play. And it's another beautiful game where you are building the bonsai, and the rules dictate, obviously you have to shape the tree so it does end up looking like you're meant to. It looks like a bonsai tree at the end of it, and lots of kind of soaring things to weigh up. How quickly do you plump for the scoring bonuses, or do you wait it out, kind of push your luck in that way? And that worked really well, particularly 4 players.
Yeah, and you really are building your ability to store or to place all the different things with the cards that you're pulling out, and being able to, they're enabling you to put certain colours out, or whether it's fruit or the flower or the greenery or whatever. So next time you'll be able to maybe take more, or maybe you can place more, or maybe you can store more. So you're building up what you can do throughout the game, and it's interesting to see some of those ones that are just scoring cards, or just the one that lets you store more. As soon as it comes up, it's gone. It's like, I really wanted that. It's not my turn yet. So trying to get things at the right time for you to sort of make the most out of them is interesting.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's it's a shame we haven't got it on our shelves, because I would like to play it again. So.
Yeah, it's very much a nice, quick, easy, relaxing game. I think it would play equally as well at 2 as a slightly higher player colour. count even. And a nice pretty effect once you've built your tree.
And it's interesting, all our trees look different. So there's different play styles you can do, different approaches you can do, and pretty good.
Yeah, well, and as you get towards the end of the game, you suddenly notice that people are sort of switching how they're playing a little bit, and the focus is all of a sudden gone to, can I get those high point scorers?
Yeah.
And can I pick up several of them, rather than trying to sort of, you do your engine differently. All of a sudden it's like, oh, we're coming towards the end. What bonus scores can I get?
I was probably playing it wrong. I just wanted to make a pretty tree.
Next we played was, you might have seen it in a feature game Friday, we played Die of the Dead, a very pretty game again, with those wonderful steps and the coloured dice going up them. You're trying to sort of get one of your die to the top in order that
the Matagot steps.
Yeah.
And obviously playing that in November was particularly appropriate for Day of the Dead. It's a fantastic game that I've been aware of for a while, and I'm pleased we've got a chance to be sent a copy to look at. And I think with the expansions particularly, it takes what could be a relatively light game with the dog moving around, adds a lot of complexity. And also I was really intrigued by the kind of Offender expansion, because that changed the nature of the game completely and made it a more almost, a dice drafting puzzle. It was interesting to see how that worked. But if you want to know more about that, have a watch of our feature game Friday.
Gorgeous game. We have also played, which you might have seen in some of our recent videos, Featherweight Fiesta. Now, this is a sort of birds on the line game that you get to ping them off at the end of the game. But at the beginning of that, you're basically trying to kind of achieve goals of placement. So you're wanting one big blue bird in the center and then two small green ones in the middle, or maybe you're wanting 4 tufty haired birds in a row and things like that.
So if you want to see more of that, that's in our 10 children's games to play at Christmas. I watched that in that video. And also we played at a local convention. We played at the Power Cotton Museum. Another link to a video if you want to see that. Really great kind of family game, and it's great table presence. So when we were playing it, lots of families came around and said, "What is this?" And I think for a game geared towards families, the important thing is, can you explain it quickly? Can you start playing quickly? And this one you definitely can. I don't know if it's designed for the kind of finale where you're pulling the birds and pinging off, and then worked backwards from there to how do we get the birds on the line in the first place. But it works really well. It's a really fun game for children.
The best bit is just trying to ping it and hoping that you'll have one solitary bird left on. But of course they've all gone. They've all flown.
Who doesn't want to pull it down really hard, sacrifice a point just to see the cascading of birds everywhere?
We've been playing Frosthaven campaign. Ages ago we were playing Jaws of the Lion weekly, and it's taken a while before we could sort of get the group back together.
We needed the band to come back together to take another journey.
So we've been venturing into the frosty north with new characters, new things.
Left Hachette at home. His garden at the fires probably looking out for his favourite.
No, we made a point of not picking the same kind of type of character. So I had a quattro before in Jaws of the Lion, and now I've got Dinosaurs.
I've got Banner Spear, which is a fun puzzle to play with her, to try and align where you're going to have your allies. We'll talk about it more once we've kind of ventured further. It feels a bit early to go into detail about whether we're enjoying it as much as Jaws of the Lion, or because we're still very much scraping the surface. But
I want to get in and see how different missions are going to have us do slightly different things and be a bit more interesting, which they did towards the end of Jaws of the Lion. There were, actually from the middle of it, there were some interesting and different missions where you're sort of thinking about the puzzle of it. It's not just sort of go into a room, kill everyone, and then hope for the best, which we have started to move on from. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when we're upgrading characters and there's different storylines progress.
It has reminded me of how elegant and clever all of those systems are that work together, and I'm really enjoying the kind of city events you get after. Building up Frosthaven itself is interesting, and I'm pleased it's developed further than the end of in Gloomhaven, where it's just like, you've done a mission, here's a card to read. I do like the kind of expansion of it.
And at the moment we're being quite friendly to each other, loaning our resources to build up walls and things like that, and we'll see how that develops, won't we?
Looks like it's trying to justify a future action here. But okay.
We've played games that we've played and spoken about many a time. So Go Nuts for Donuts, Hey That's My Fish.
Usual family friendly. We just wanted to make sure before we did our children's games which ones to include. So we went for a whole back catalogue of children's games with the children.
Let them choose.
Yeah, because they chose the games that are on that list. So do watch that if you're looking for children games.
We played my game of the month, which was Outlive, a game, post-apocalyptic game that we picked up at UK Games Expo. Managed to pick up the collector's edition, which we were super excited about, and had a great time playing that one. There's so much going on in terms of building up your shelter, gaining new resources, like, you're going to need a shotgun, aren't you? Whether you've got enough water and sort of doubling down on what your sort of special ability might be. So mine was to gain an extra water, for example, and just sort of whether you can intimidate your other
everyone else,
which is an interesting. It feels quite sort of Walking Dead.
Because the apocalypse that you're dealing with after it. You originally thought, well, this is a game that I'm going to really love, and I did absolutely love playing it. I'm going to hazard a chance, I guess, and say it may well be my favourite worker placement game. I do love Viticulture though, so it's tricky. Very different games. I do love in a way, the limitations of it. In worker placement games, often there's so many places you can go. It's never really a big worry when someone's been somewhere. There's options you can do. In this, if someone goes somewhere you really need to go, it's like, okay, now I have a tricky decision to make. Do I send in the big hitters to get what I need, but then not be able to use them elsewhere? Or worse still, have them in a place that's really inconvenient for me for a future turn? And I do love the events.
Well, the events change everything, because if you've got a pool of resources, wood, water, whatever, meat maybe, and then all of a sudden this event comes up and it's affecting everyone, but it's taking off the resource, that maybe the water from the dam, maybe it's taken 3 or 4 of them away, and now if you're not first there, you're probably not going to get any.
No.
And if you really need that for something else that you're doing, it does really sway when you're going to do stuff, whether you need to intimidate or not.
It's interesting because the events give you a lot of victory points. It's quite in terms of, overall winner, it's not a big total you need to get. So doing enough of those events can win you the game, but then you are knowing you're helping everyone else out. And if you don't really get affected by that event, but someone else is really getting hurt by it, it's like, do I want to help you by doing this, even though I get a lot more victory points?
And by doing them, you're probably hindering yourself, because you're not able to maybe feed your survivors and stuff. So then you might get sort of knocked back when it gets to the end of the round as well. So,
such a great blend of theme and mechanism working so well together. Yeah, really great game.
We've been playing Pandora Celeste, which you'll hear more about very soon. At the moment it's a prototype, so we won't go into it too much right now, but if you're interested in space games, if you're interested in the old retro sci-fi games and a love of that sort of thing, then do keep an eye on the channel to hear more and more about Pandora Celeste.
It's a really fun, narrative driven, I don't quite know how to describe it, but it's a really clever game with lots of great mechanics and a seamless entry, which I think is a great way. You don't see that often enough in games. Here's a game, open a box, and you get playing straight away.
Yeah,
I think that's really good. There'll be more videos about that soon.
We played Redwood, which I really enjoyed. It's just here. Yeah, you're playing a photographer and you're out in the wilds, in the bushes, and you're trying to take pictures of different types of animals. Maybe the sun will be behind you if you're lucky, or one of the pictures, not all 4 of your pictures. I loved how it's sort of, you literally have 4 turns.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to maximize that. So it is quite a relatively quick game. But how you gauge distance and curves and things to try and get your photographer on the right spot, to try and get the lens to cover the things you're trying to take exactly right. I mean, we both got it wrong several times.
Yeah, I think
it's quite funny.
It's nice to find a game that's so different to everything else you've got.
Yeah.
And we haven't got anything else like this. It's spatial awareness more than anything is the key to success in this game. And that'll come obviously with experience as you play it more. You you will have advantage if you have played it against people who haven't played it. But that being said, even as we were going through, by the end of it, we're like, totally misjudged that. I'm taking now a terrible photo of a plant. There's a bear in the background. There's a bee rover there. I can't quite
taking that.
Can't quite see it.
No,
but this is an interesting plant. I'll take that. Oh, but I've got the sun in the background again, so it's a terrible picture.
And what I really liked is that the goal scoring for that round, they kind of start each round. There's a new thing that you're trying to focus on. So as the game progresses, you're trying to achieve more and more and more out of your photo, which is really interesting.
It starts off relatively simple, and as it progresses, similar to what we're saying with Pandora Celeste, it starts off quite simple and it gets increasingly more complex as the players get used to playing the game, and it's such a different, clever game.
Yeah, and I think worked well with families.
It's good.
Not too young, but
it's quite a gateway game, and I think it's one of those games where people go, I didn't know board games were like this. What, don't we have to roll some dice and move up some ladders and go down some snakes?
I think we'll be playing that one again over Christmas.
I think with family, it's going to be good.
Of course, we played more sea salt and paper. We've talked about that a lot, and we also played spots a lot on BGA. That's come out a lot. We played for the first time Star Wars, the deck building game, which I really enjoyed. I think if it wasn't so late at night, we would have played another one.
It's quite an impulsive purchase for you, wasn't it? It was like
not really, because it's been on the list there for ages. It's just that it was. I don't know, it was in a Black Friday sale or something. Can't remember. No, it was pre-Essen. It was coming then.
You just impulsively
maybe it was a good buy.
I bought Star Wars Deck Builder. I know I was foolish because I thought it was a collectible card game. I got it totally wrong, but it's not. It's not. No. You just everything you need to play the game completely is in the box, and it's one of you plays the Rebels, the other plays the Empire, and it's building the right deck, and. With a limited amount of cards in there, you'd think, well, every game's going to play the same. But it's amazing how differently they do. And I do like the way the Force shifts and how it gets benefits if the Force is with you. And
I think there's a lot of different sort of routes to go down in terms of play. Like, do you get the ships that sort of block damage? Do you use that as a tactic? Do you just get really good characters and try and thin out your deck and have great cards coming each time?
That was your success really in one of the games you played, where you had you got rid of a lot of the starting hands, whereas I was just wading through a lot of slightly poor cards. You get into the good ones straight away.
Great shuffling. But it's a game that we'll play again and again, I'm sure. It's like, again, quite quick when you're sort of tired after work.
This size of box. But the actual contents itself is relatively small. So, or if you want to take it with us, just take the cards, and we're good to go. So, although it's a deceptively big box, it's travel friendly, and so trains on planes, we can just have a go with that.
Yeah, I think it'll be in the holiday bag of favourite holiday games for a while, I'm sure. And again, it's going to get played over Christmas whilst we're waiting for the oven or half hour or something. Exactly. You played Takenoko with the girls, which is again a favourite family game
in preparation for the and it's nice to play that again because I haven't played it for a little bit, and the girls have got more used to different styles of games. So what initially seemed quite alien to them and quite, well, that's different, now it's very familiar and very easy, and we played it with the expansion. We played it with the
and the chibis.
Yeah, with the so you got Mummy Panda and you got the baby pandas, which just makes it all the more adorable. But it's a kind of perennial favourite. I forget how quick it is to play, and it's just nice to kind of go back to familiar ones sometimes and just get an old favourite off the shelf.
And it's super cute.
It's very cute.
We play. Well, of course, we played Tamashii.
We did.
Your game of the month.
Yep.
Your first Awaken Realms Kickstarter.
Yes. I went all in for my birthday, actually. So I've been waiting a while and I've been eagerly anticipating this one. I think this is the one I've been maybe distilled, but certainly following all the production updates. And, I knew I wanted to paint the minis. I've been enjoying doing that. I think I spent more time painting the minis actually than we have playing the game.
Yeah.
But we've got a number of games in, and it works so well. I mean, there's bits in it that I thought would be daunting, but after the really good tutorial kind of scenario, everything kind of clicks into place quite quickly.
I thought it was quite quick to pick up. I really like the sort of slidey puzzle, trying to get things in the right arrangement. You've all got that special power, so you might be able to do something quicker. Like I often have had the green one, which has meant that I can do a 2-pattern rather than having to get 3 together to get that ability, which is fun. And the other thing that I really appreciate with this is it has got that story, that campaign feel, but we can play a game of 2 of us, upgrade everything, do everything.
Yep.
And then next time we play, there could be 4 of us around the table and we moving on. Not everyone doesn't have to be in every game. Each is sort of its isolated story, but you're gaining all of that experience.
And we know the games quite well now between us. So when we introduce new people to it, we can quickly answer their questions. But it does feel quite simple. The hard bit is explaining, because you have to do the sliding puzzle at the beginning. And the hard bit is explaining what that's going to allow you to do in later stages of the game. But after you've gone one round, all makes sense.
Yeah.
And I do love the evolving stories. I was keen to cheat and read what would have happened if we did that. And you're like, no, because you might play it again. But I do love how certain things are unlocked based on what you've done, and they're available for subsequent playthroughs.
Yeah.
So you unlock a character because you met them. And you interacted with that character time, so therefore they're available in the future. Whereas if you hadn't, or if you're less successful with that, they wouldn't be, and you get a different enemy, for example. I think really well written, a knowledge of that kind of genre and kind of familiar elements of it. You can kind of see the genesis of where they came from. But yes, as all Awaken Realms games, or versus Awaken Realms Lite, super production values.
Yeah, and of course, all of those minis that look great, you're getting to change your skin and be that person, and being able to switch and change through different characters, different skins, by creating that puzzle, getting it together to sort of almost buy the look that you want, the character that you want, the mini that you want, if it's available for that game. That's a really fun part of that.
And I think it's good that you've got to try hard to be eliminated from the game, because sometimes it's a good tactic to destroy a body, to lure things away and sacrifice that body, go back to a basic body, and then get another skin to go into. That's a good tactic on certain missions. But if you do get annihilated because you've got too many enemies following you, well, they go, and then you can just get a new body, or you might be really lucky and keep the body you have by resetting. And I think that's great, because it just keeps people involved. There's nothing worse than getting eliminated and going, okay, I'm going to sit here for 2 hours while the rest of you play. You don't get that in Tamashii. But yeah, really good. I would keep on playing it.
Oh, another one that you're going to rave about. Thunder Road Vendetta. I mean, this is...
I'll let you talk, because I think you know how much I enjoyed it. But what did you make of Thunder Road?
We've talked, a long time ago, actually, we've talked on this channel about dodos riding dinos as a racing game, with all of the silliness, all of the hilarity, trying to flick things, drop bananas. And it felt as ridiculous as that. But just in this kind of Mad Maxy kind of world of dirt tracks and cars, and my car's dropping on top of other players, and oh look, I've crashed you out to the side. Just racing down and trying to see what you can get, hoping that you roll an okay die to get you what you want. And just sort of the moment the finish line comes out, it's like, oh right,
basically whoever's next to play is going to win.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, we were like 9 spaces away, but 2 of us had both rolled quite well, so had abilities to still, we could have got to the end. It was fun how you just sort of, something crazy happened, no fault of anyone's own, and it's just like, oh yeah, your car's out. It's exploded.
I played this as a child. I had the original one from 1988, I think it is, and I had nostalgic memories of it. And I'm sure going back to playing that version of the game would be absolutely terrible. I'm pretty sure you roll a dice, you move that, and then suddenly you might die if you came into contact with another car. I don't know. I can't remember the details of it. So I was interested to see how this would work, kind of for a modern board game. Setup. And
it's very party game vibe, because you can't take it too seriously.
I think if you do,
it just is. You can't honestly race and think you've won through skill and decision making.
But we had one person who was just on the track. A car bounced on top of them through no fault of their own, which caused them to go backwards underneath someone else's helicopter to get blown up. And they were just like, guess that's dead then. And on we went. Because you have no control over certain events that happen in the game, and that's the silly beauty of it all.
Yeah, and that makes for the funny moments, but obviously you need to be aware that it's those kind of things that are making the game. So if you're wanting a sort of strategic racing game,
it is not that.
But this is kind of cash and guns for racing, isn't it?
It's like, fun, it's silly party.
Yeah.
And we had a quick. It's thankfully very quick.
Yeah.
Because
I think it would outstay its welcome if it was much longer.
Oh god, yes. It'd be poor if you're playing that for 2 hours. You're like, and you win because you were next. But it's such. I can't remember last time kind of the group laughed as much as they have.
Because it was carnage.
Yeah. Fun carnage.
We played Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. We've been trying to sort of work our way through some of the tiny epics that we've had for a while and sort of half forgotten how to play because it's been a minute. And I do remember this one being one of my favourites, and I still think it is. I mean, obviously, Dino-Meeples. It's going to win it, isn't it? But I like how you're managing your pen and you're getting different upgrades and you're each trying to kind of see what you can do, whether you're going to make new baby dinosaurs to complete missions. And what's really tricky on this one is that to do your personal mission, you also have to do a public mission. So trying to marry those two together and not have someone take the one that you can do just before you've managed to complete both of them at the same time is super tricky. But yeah, I enjoy this one. I think it works quite well.
Pretty much everything you said. I like the puzzle of I need to get this many dinosaurs into my park to complete both the public and the private missions, but just keeping them separated and having no one run off, and also having places to put any offspring that happens.
Exactly.
It gets a bit of a puzzle. And it's a lot like all tiny epic games, and their whole raison d'etre is they're complicated games in a tiny box, or deep games at least. Lots of complexity and thought that go into it. They're not simple light games. Plays out in this game wonderfully, and it's one of my favorites too.
Yeah, nice and colourful and bright.
And we use the Dized App for that. And if you don't know about that, and you are looking at kind of playing the tiny epic games and a lot of the other ones, worth looking into that because it does take you through the game without an instruction book, and then let you go. And it's a very good way of learning a new game.
Yeah, it was good. We played an old favourite, Trek in the World, which we've played and spoken about lots of times, but we also played Tribes of the Wind. Yes. Beautiful game.
So, it's just another apocalyptic game. Very difficult to outlive, though, because now people are living in trees. Lovely Vincent Dutray artwork.
Yeah.
In that.
Really nice artwork.
But it's various approaches you can take as you're kind of playing it. And I really like that kind of approach. I can see what's often kind of lumped with After Us, because they came out at similar times, but very different games to kind of play.
Well, I suppose both the artworks, both by Vincent, so like they have a not dissimilar look about them, but they do play very differently. You're definitely doing something very different and trying to sort of complete on your board. I think it's a 4x4 grid, my memory, and trying to get your different resources.
Well, I like we have to clean up the pollution from these different things before you can expand into them. And, with your objective, sometimes you have to just cover up stuff on the board and say, well, now I need to head in that direction while doing that. But I know that one's going to score if I'm building horizontal lines or vertical lines of things.
Yeah, and what's really interesting in this game is that you've got cards in front of you that you can see what's happening on the front of them, and your opponent can just see their types, so whether they're like a water type, a fire type, whatever. And depending on how many you have and how many your opponents have will depend on whether you can activate and use your card and how strong that will be. So it doesn't matter just necessarily only what's in your hand. I might have a water card that says if there are 5 cards of water type around the table, including my own, then I get this really strong benefit from it. And then you're trying to time which cards you can use when, and you're trying to hope that when you sort of pull out the next lot of cards for people to refresh, that specific type's going to be there, and when it gets around to your turn, there's going to be enough of that card for you to do this thing that you really want to do right now, but you've been holding off to maximize it.
Sometimes it makes sense to fill your kind of board with one colour, for example, your collectible cards, knowing that, well, if they've got an opponent's got a need for me to have a certain colour, I'm limited to option. And you think this wouldn't work well at 2 because obviously you have to read opponents, plural. But it's a very simple solution of, what's in the draw cards.
Like has a river, basically, through the middle.
And that's what affects you. And it's, you're not having to add in a dummy player or anything like that. It's all just set up as part of the game. And it's clever how well that does.
Yeah, it works really well. Yeah. So I enjoyed that one. I'm looking forward to playing again. And last but not least, because it had the most plays of the entire month, is a Viking See-Saw, an itten game that I picked up at Essen. I'm slightly obsessed with itten games at the moment. I think every time we see one at a show or whenever we go anywhere, I think them hoping they might put some on Kickstarter come in the new year, maybe, fingers crossed. Is their little fun series, and there's not just Viking See-Saw, there's Master Ninja, and there's 3 Second Try, and there's lots of, I think there's quite a few of them. But Viking See-Saw, you're all got different types of components, like little blocks, little kind of crystals, a little meeple man, all these different bits and bobs, all in your rubber band, hold them all together. And on the ship, you've got these chests that are on there, and you're trying to place your things onto the ship. And if it tips, you have to take one of the chests, but you're trying to get rid of all your resources. You don't want one of the chests. And so you're trying to carefully place things back onto the ship at the highest section of it. And it's really funny because you're obviously sort of all jibing each other. Oh, you're going to be able to do it. Oh, Nimble Fingers there has got another gold cube, which is the heaviest one, on there without it tipping. And yeah, just a lot of fun. Very, very quick. We often play it if we're playing at 4. We'll just do 4 games, so we each play first each as the whole game. But so you're talking playing each one in less than 10 minutes. Obviously, depending on how nimble-fingered you are.
Yeah, and you keep bringing it out from your handbag. We go, oh, should we play this next? It doesn't matter who we're playing with.
Well, it's so small. You can just take it anywhere. So I just think it's perfect.
Yeah. For, at the end of our game tonight last week, after playing Thunder Road, it's like, under Arborea. Oh, we've got 10 minutes. I've got a game for this.
Yeah, exactly.
On to the table it goes.
Yeah,
lots of
and
fun.
I think it's the kind of game that you can play with people that don't play games. So this time of year is great as well, because if you've got kind of a couple of friends over for sort of a bit get together, it adds a little bit of hilarity to the night, but they don't need to get into game mode or anything. It's just silliness. So loving that, and we'll definitely be adding to that collection.
Yeah.
But that's it. That was a V, so that's the end.
That's everything we played in November.
Yeah.
But do let us know what you've been playing in November down below in the comments. Have you played any of these games? Or have we sparked your interest in any of these that you hadn't heard of before? Do let us know.
Sorry if I've started a new itten game session for everyone.
Obviously, we are Living and Julian. We post a board game video at least twice a week, always here on YouTube. So if that's your kind of thing, do consider subscribing to our channel and liking this video, all the YouTube things that you already know about.
Yeah, we would love it if you would subscribe. Of course, if you're looking for board games, do consider your friendly local game store. And for us here in the southeast of England, it is Chaos Cards, and we do, as usual, have a discount code in the description. So if you are shopping online, or if you do happen to be local, you can pop that in and save a few pennies on your basket. It is a new code, so if you've used a code previously, this one should be fresh and new and ready for some shopping.
Yeah, and if you are in the area of Chaos Cards, they've got lots of fun events planned throughout December and January for you to go along to. A lot more festive, all involving board games and board gamey things, and we're going to be there as well. So maybe
we're going to do some ball decorating.
Yeah, so if you see us there, do say hello. Yeah. And as always, thank you so much for watching.
Bye.